Welcome to the Housebox Radio program, Mega World, the Trumpster Manifesto post show for the weekend before Halloween. Just hanging out with the chat room. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And yeah, there you go. So what we were talking about throughout the show today, and that I want to revisit a little bit with you guys, and especially in the chat room, and kind of get your thoughts on this, is that when you have a situation where they're claiming all sides, where they are saying, well, both sides instigate violence or both sides use coded language, in those circumstances, you can do two things. You can deny it, or you can look at anywhere that qualifies as that within your own speech and clean it up. And I vote for the second. It doesn't mean you have to say that they're right. If they're wrong, that's fine. But don't even, it's not even necessary linguistically for you to even go there. You can literally say, like, well, your side, like, well, I don't, and I'm not going to. And every time they try to, bugger outside the windows of what you're, blaming your crowd's behavior on you, say, I don't do it and I don't stand for it. And hold to that. Don't have the punch a Nazi meme in your language. Don't, avoid the, the destructive languaging. And doesn't mean you can't be forceful in your language. Just don't use the direct buzzwords. Anything that they latch onto, just get rid of it and use a better foundational idea. It's one of those things like, are you discussing tearing down the patriarchy, or do you believe in building up a matriarchy? That maybe the world needs to know what the power of what a matriarchy can provide. Is that a better way to language it in a way that you're not trying to I'm not trying to destroy the patriarchy. I'm just trying to introduce the idea that a matriarchy might be healthy. Those kind of things. Like there is always, we used to run into this thing on Talk Soup, and I've talked about this before or whatever, about, jokes and what I will joke about and what I won't. And I won't joke about anything people can't change. If you can't change it about yourself, anything you can change about yourself is fine. Anything you can't change about yourself is off limits. And it's just a standard that I have. And one of the writers on the show got really annoyed with me about it. And he's like, well, you can't always hit it out of the park, was one of his phrases. I was like, well, you damn well try. And secondly goes, but that joke's funny. And I'm like, well, there's 10,000 jokes for every one you're telling. Get at it. That's why you're a writer and not somebody else. An amateur will make that joke because it's the only joke option to them. But as a comedy writer and as a comedian, you have more options available to you. Get at it. And the same thing is true with politically active people. If you view yourself as an activist, you view yourself as having, a meaningful part to play, and not just voting or kind of being a spectator of politics online, but actually working, marching and doing all those other things, then you have a responsibility to, I believe, to step it up. And that's why I always recommend if you're going to a march, make sure you have your kind of talking points and your angle down so you can you've got your soundbite, your elevator pitch, I think somebody in the chat room called it. All those elements, have them on the ready so that if you do get sideswiped by, a Fox News crew or something like that, you're able to articulate those points, which you clearly believe, but you may not be ready because you went there in the mentality of, I will be surrounded by like-minded people. They know exactly what I'm talking about. We're in a shorthand. This is a shorthand environment. And when you're in a shorthand environment, you speak in shorthand. And this can be true of conservatives as well when they're marching and they get caught off guard not explaining their tax policy or any of those things because they believe they're walking in a like-minded zone. They went to a party, not to an argument. And so you have to treat, that's super important as part of that. And I recommend it. And also, the more skilled you are and more together you are linguistically to defend your position, the less violent you will be, quite frankly, because you don't have that fallback, you can't be like that dipshit who kicked the camera out of that pro-lifer's hands and kicked her in the face, who got arrested. Like, he talks to her for half a second, she asks him another question, then he just hauls off and kicks her because he doesn't have anything else to say. You can't be like that. You have to be able to articulate your point. I always talk about in comedy how it's my job, whatever I joke about, I have to know 20% more about it than the audience does. even if I'm making a brain surgery joke and there's a brain surgeon in the audience, I need to know 20% more stuff about brain surgery than he does to make a joke that he will laugh at about brain surgery. Now, I don't need to know about the specifics of brain surgery. There may not be any way that I know more details about what he does, but I can sure as hell know more about what it's like to talk to someone who's had it, or emotionally, deal with the aftermath of it, because he does it for a business. He doesn't necessarily know the social impact or the feeling or what most people who've never had brain surgery or whatever, all the things that they think about when you bring it up. He doesn't know that because he does it for a living. So that 20% is that area or whatever. I could have a perspective he doesn't have. And if you have that perspective, own it. One of the biggest problems that I think we need to address in the left is the idea that we believe in diversity, and diversity of opinion and diversity of experience. Well, that diversity also has to be articulated. It can't just be, well, I'm here and this is me, and therefore I'm standing here, so my perspective on it is that I'm marching. Well, you're standing right next to somebody else who's also here marching, and they feel just like you. So obviously there's no diversity in what you think about it. What brings you here, what aligns you with other people in the diversity of your background? Because again, diversity is the root of our strength, not the fruit of our strength. America is not a tree that each group gets to pick fruit off of and just go hide off in their corner and do it. We put all of our best efforts and our best ideas together, and the fruit of it benefits everyone. And that's what it means to be a liberal. It's what it means to believe in real liberty and real